Since becoming a territory, appointed and elected governors have led this state. But governors aren't the only people who have influenced the direction Alaska has taken or influenced the people who live here.
I'd like to thank you very much, brothers and sisters, for the invitation. As you know, the governor has a very, very busy schedule, and every now and then he has to send somebody in his stead, and in this case, I happen to be the lucky one. The last time I came here, I was representing, of course, the Tlingit and Haida, the sovereign Tlingit and Haida Indian tribes of Alaska. And this time I'm representing the sovereign state of Alaska, whatever limitations it may have.
To many longtime Southeasterners, the sound of this man's voice has become somewhat familiar. Most people today would recognize John Hope as the veteran Native leader. This is because John Hope has held an integral position with virtually every Southeast and statewide Native organization. However, John's claim to fame had very little or nothing to do with Native organizations. As a radio broadcaster, John Hope was the official voice behind the gold medal basketball games. He was also the first Native radio broadcaster. During the 50s and 60s, John worked as a disc jockey between Sitka, Ketchikan, and Juneau.
We worked at the rock dump at the time. It was during the Elvis Presley heyday. Pat Boone and rock and roll was just getting off and running. Bill Haley and the Comets. I was a request man. I enjoyed playing request.
During John's career as a broadcaster, he worked with the likes of Vern Mitkiff, Terry Pegues, and Steve Agzaba. But John's big break into broadcasting probably wasn't as conventional as his colleagues.
My brother Percy was in the hospital at the time, and I would take the recorder to the game, and I'd give a description. First of all, I started with just the band music. I would record the pep band music, and then I thought maybe he'd be interested in hearing a little more, so I'd tell him the score by the quarter. Then I discovered it was not too difficult to do a play-by-play, so I would record just a part of the quarter leading up to what that quarter score was, and then up to the halftime. Then I found it was very, very easy to do a whole play-by-play, so I would record the whole game. It was on a wire recorder. Take it over to the hospital the next day on a Sunday, play it for him, and that attracted a few other patients in the hospital. And then they began to look forward to my doing that. I felt obligated to do it. Then I would record every game. Then I felt obligated to go all of the games, record all of the games, take them to the hospital and play it. And then the staff heard about it, and they said, let's put it on the public address system so all of the patients can hear it. And then the burden of responsibility got greater. And of course, I enjoyed it. About that time, they were building a radio station, 2 radio stations in Sitka. One of the stations, KALA, the board of directors heard about these things. They said, we'd like to have an audition tape, well, it was a wire recording, and have the board listen to it. And as a result of it, they decided to put me on an exclusive contract to broadcast basketball for them.
John had been involved with the Alaska Native Brotherhood in Sitka since 1945, but it wasn't until 1963 when he made a career change over to working for his people. John was hired by the Bureau of Indian Affairs to assist Native students obtain vocational training.
The area director resigned, Mr. Clay Antiochia resigned, and I was selected to fill that position on an interim basis. So I was the area director for the BIA for about 9 months, I guess. Then about that same time, the opportunity arose to run for the president of the Central Council, Tlingit and Haida Indian Tribes of Alaska. I ran for that office, and I succeeded in winning that position. And so I left the Bureau and took over the presidency of the Tlingit and Haida for 4 years, worked there for 4 years, enjoyed that very much. It was something I always wanted to do. My dad had been president of Tlingit and Haida for about 25 years. And in his day, it was an annual election. He had to be elected on an annual basis. He was able to succeed himself for 25 years. Now the election is every 2 years. I succeeded myself only once, and then of course Mr. Ed Thomas came along and he defeated me the last time around.
Through John Hope's career as a radio broadcaster and Native leader, he had to face several challenges. However, the largest challenge came early in John's life. While in his early teens, John was stricken with tuberculosis. He was to spend the next 6 years and 4 months in a Washington hospital. All but 3 months of this stay was spent in bed. The hospital lacked the resources for John to continue his education. After being released from the hospital, John was 21 years old and basically a grade school dropout. Obviously, this fact wasn't very apparent when he passed his entrance exam into radio school without a high school diploma. According to John, much of his success can be credited to his grandmother. She spoke only Tlingit and passed her values on to him.
And she instilled in me the importance of being a Kiksadi, how my conduct should reflect well on the Kiksadi people, that I should excel in what I'm doing because I not only represented myself, but I represented the clan. So she made it pretty plain to me that I had to conduct myself in a worthy manner because it reflected somewhat on her if I got into mischief. Of course, that didn't wipe out mischief entirely, but you know, it controlled to some degree. And that may have helped me somewhat in not having an inferiority complex.
Today, John Hope is the Director of Community Development for the Department of Community and Regional Affairs. His new position with the state has somewhat taken him from his tribal affairs. However, John will continue to contribute whenever and wherever he can.
It's very, very, very many fond memories I have, and of course you all know that my dad came from the Killisnoo country, and he's Kakwantan, I'm Kakwantan Yeti. I don't think that's the kind of speech that the state was expecting, but I thought I'd mention it in passing. Again, on behalf of the state of Alaska, I thank you very, very much.